Hello everyone, I'm CoolGuy, welcome back, and today let's go over the best settings for Apex Legends on console. Now, the best settings is subjective, but we'll go over my reasoning for my choices and walk through all the settings to help you guys make the best decisions that are going to be catered to you. We'll go top to bottom, talk about them. I've had a lot of questions on Twitter about what I use, so I thought we could start these guides with the basics. Apex has a lot of settings, and a lot of you guys haven't seen these types of settings before, so it's important to understand them. It's important to get you guys where you need to be. It took me a little bit to settle on mine, so let's first start off with the gameplay tab, Interact Prompt Style. It gives you the choice of compact or default. I keep it on default. The main reasoning is that you don't get the banner that comes up. I played a couple games and found that default is going to be the best option. If you do compact, it simply states the item, and as we all know, Select Fire, Skull Piercer, various others look the same, so you have to actually go up to them and read what the item is with compact. If you're okay with that, then you do you, but with default, you have that visual representation, and I found that helps for faster looting. Button hints displays button prompts and abilities. For new players, keep it on. Once you're comfortable, you can turn it off. It's just a visual aid. Crosshair damage feedback, I keep it with the shield's icon. This way you know they have shields by the shield icon and the color of the damage numbers. It pairs with the next option, damage numbers. We have 4 options, off, stacking, floating, or both. You should be going with stacking or both. Most important, the key one is stacking. This shows the combined numbers for all recent damage. If you do both, it adds floating. It floats the damage numbers for each hit and then adds them as a lump sum at the end. I personally don't want that. That's a lot of feedback on my screen, so I just do stacking, and here's why. A player has 100 health. Each shield cell gives them 25 shields. So white armor is a total of 50 added, blue 75, purple and gold are 100. So in total, 100 health, 150, 175, and 200. When you stack the numbers, you can do some quick math. So say you hit some shields, break them, and you did 120 total damage to a purple armored enemy. You know that he has 80 health now. That's very important. That's a call out to your team if you're playing with one. If you shoot and land really good damage, like 150 damage to a blue armored opponent, you see 150 and you now know he has 25 health. That's the decision time. He's low enough. You can push them. Or maybe you should just forego a reload, switch weapons, and clean them up with your other weapon. I strongly suggest that you have stacking on. Both are okay, but at least do stacking. Ping opacity, you want this one faded. It's not opaque at all, and items have a very strong presence when they're not faded, because when it is faded, at times they're see-through, they're very light, you need to have it faded. It's the difference between winning and losing team fights and matches sometimes. Incoming damage feedback, 2D gives a circular, 2-dimensional indicator, 3D is a 3D arrow damage indicator, and both is both. Play around with these, I do 3D, and I advise you to choose one or the other, because again, you don't want that much feedback in your gunfight. Try to keep it simple. Streamer mode, user sharing, colorblind options are all self-explanatory to the player. For a controller, we have a big one here. With all these settings, it is to the player. That's why they're there, but I'm going to have some recommendations for all the things below. I do recommend that you choose Button Puncher or Evolved. I use Button Puncher. And here's my reasoning. I'm a Destiny player. I play on Puppeteer in Destiny 2, Destiny 1. The Button Puncher loadout is the same exact thing in Apex Legends as Puppeteer was in Destiny. The idea behind it is your right thumbstick click in is now crouch or knee slide, and you do a lot more of this than your melee. If you're using default, the only thing that changes between default and button puncher is B and the right thumbstick click in. Your right thumb's always going to be on the right stick, therefore you can crouch knee slide a lot easier all the time fluidly. And for your melee, you just press B. Evolved is the same as bumper jumper, but it has that key change. And again, with Evolved, that top left bumper is going to be jump, and A or X is your tactical ability. That's what I suggest. It's a big change for Destiny. It's a big change for Apex Legends. I have a Battle Beaver controller, so my back left paddle is A or button is A, and X is for reload. On PlayStation, that's X for jump, circle for reload. So play around with these. Again, the only time your thumb has to leave the stick if you don't play claw is going to be moving it over to B to melee someone, which is going to be ideal. Crouch button, toggle, aim button, hold. Both of these are preferences. Sensitivity, I play on 4-4. For this section, in the description, I have a video talking about aiming. It goes over a couple things like dead zone, aiming in general, left stick, right stick dominance, various other concepts. I made it a couple weeks ago, maybe a month. Check that one out. Response curve, like sensitivity, this is preference. This is where it gets very interesting because your sensitivity, dead zone, field of view, all of it coexists. The response curve is how the game registers your stick movement, how fast, slow, fluid they feel, or how fast you want the movement to kick in when you move the sticks. It's tied to the input you give. There are a lot of games that have set curves, set dead zones, and honestly, if you go into training and start messing around with these settings, you can appreciate what other developers did for the overall code for aiming in various other games. I use classic for the quote classic respawn feel. This should feel like most games. To me, it feels very buttery smooth. When you choose steady, it makes it a tad bit more linear. In my opinion, not as smooth, but some players do like it. And with these settings, they are there for the player, so mess around with them, you might like it. With fine aim, it makes your movements very slowish with your fine precision aiming. Your horizontal aiming takes a little bit more stick tension and allows more stick movement within a small area. When you're on your target, you have a lot of control. However, the fine movements are okay, but you are trying to build muscle memory here. This could mess with other games, so try it, see if you like it. We have high velocity. This setting is way more than raw input. Your stick direction catapults your aim. I was lucky enough to hit targets. Very tough to use. When you move the stick, your crosshair is instantly moving there in a very fast way. And then we have linear. This is actual linear raw input. They say it's recommended for players that use an Xbox Elite controller that have set response curves, set dead zones programmed into it. And honestly, that's probably the best way. So again, I use classic, it feels great. Go into training, see what they all feel like. Most of you are gonna feel right at home with classic. Next, we have dead zones. Dead zones are there as a set area to make aiming on controllers feel a little bit better. It's a small area in the center of your stick that when you move your thumbstick slightly left, slightly right, there's no input on your screen. If the dead zone is very small or non-existent, your aim is very snappy, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to be better. If the dead zone is way too wide, your movements feel unresponsive. There are two main things to know, and they say it. A smaller dead zone allows for better aim control and movement within the dead zone. And they say only to increase it if needed, and that's very true. But if your controller has stick drift, this can help. In other games or in Apex, say you do nothing and your character just slowly starts walking, or your crosshair slowly drifts and moves on its own, you have stick drift. Change this dead zone to large, it can help that. It can be a possible solution. Or a large dead zone can simulate response curves. As an example, a large movement dead zone can simulate the fine aim response curve. Together though, that would feel way off. I use small for both. Inverted, use it if you play inverted, and then vibration, again, it's to the user. I suggest you turn vibration off. When you're playing shooter games, you have a lot of feedback. Players shooting, you shooting, smoke, various things. With vibration, you have your handshake, and some players like that. They like that feedback that they're getting. And a lot of console players ask, well, how do I know if I'm getting shot at if you turn off vibration? Now I ask those same players, well, how does a PC player know they're being shot at? It goes back to that 2D, 3D damage feedback setting. With vibration and the rumbles, your hands are shaking when you're trying to be precise with your thumbs. Think about that for a second. When I have controllers built, I actually have them jerk out the rumbles. It makes the controller a little bit lighter as well. And for RPG games, I just have a stock controller that I play those with. So it can help steady your shot a little bit with the rumbles off, and it's gonna feel awkward at first, but I haven't played with vibration on in probably 8 to 10 years. The next part is field of view. This ties everything together. You come in stock at 70. I use a field of view of 100. And I think that's all you need. Some say go to max 110, but I don't think that's necessary. With the field of view opened up, you can see a lot more, and all the gameplay in the background you've been seeing is field of view 100. But here's the deal, when you open up your field of view, which again is encouraged, that is adjusting your crosshair distance and affecting your muscle memory. What was once a longer, larger movement to get to a target with a field of view of, let's say, 70 is now shorter with a higher field of view. And you can just see the reticle here at field of view 70 and then at 100. With everything combined, that's there to get you sharp. All of those play a part, they coexist: sensitivity, response curve, dead zone, field of view. Each one plays a part in your aiming, they're all very important. I again have my set sensitivity, small dead zones, classic curve, 100 field of view, it's perfect for me. The last part is going to be audio, it's going to be the same as vibration. I turn my music off, and the lobby music volume is going to either be at 5 or off. And believe it or not, you can still hear it at 5 within the lobby. Now the reason for all that being off is, say you have a hot drop, when you land you can't hear anything if the music's on, like anything at all. But here are the differences when you have the music off.
Prepare for battle. Check out over there. Yep.
You can hear where players land, what doors they open immediately, hear if they pick up guns. In this scenario, I was looking at them. It is a hard drop, but if I wasn't, I could still hear exactly what he's doing behind me and next to me. Each one of these settings is to the user. My plan was to give a good setup and go off of. I gave you guys my reasoning why I chose certain settings over others, things like button layout, ping opacity, vibration, we talked about curves, dead zones, music, all of those things. And again, here's a quick view of the settings that I use. We're just gonna go through each tab. I'm currently working on a Bloodhound guide, and if you guys follow me, you know we're about to get in depth on that. But I would like to know what settings you guys use and why. If you're new to the channel, remember to hit the subscribe button, and if you are subscribed, thank you so much for your support. Don't forget to leave a like. Thank you guys for watching, and until the next one, I am CoolGuy.